Welcome to American History Notes, where I discuss the conclusions that I've drawn from studying American history. Just a regular person who likes history, and these are general conclusions, kind of surface. You might know a lot more about a specific instance than I do, but I just want you to be able to form an opinion about American history from studying it, rather than just repeating what somebody said on TV. So we're going to talk about Rutherford B. Hayes' administration. Hayes did try hard to be a good president, but was unable to overcome the stigma of the bargain that got him to the White House. You want to watch the last episode. When the Democrats controlling both houses by the second half of his term, he was unable to get anything passed that he wanted. A continuing economic depression brought on the first great railroad strike in 1877. In fact, the depression of 1873 was instrumental in defeating Reconstruction, and it lasted to the end of the century. It was the country's longest depression, and it caused a lot of turmoil, and a further and further divide of the very rich and the very poor. Riots broke out, and Hayes sent federal troops to West Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania, Illinois to defeat this first great railroad strike in 1877. Congress tried to alleviate the depression by the issue of silver dollars. Hayes vetoed the bill, but was overridden by Congress. The economy did slowly begin to improve, even though few of those dollars actually made it into circulation. Hayes was ignored by both Democrats and Republicans in his attempts to reform the corrupt civil service to eliminate patronage, where jobs were given to friends and supporters of politicians. He had the collector of the Port of New York taxes fired, never imagining that one day that man, Chester A. Arthur, would be president. During the Nez Perce War, he authorized a federal ban on selling firearms to Indians. He warned that the Mormons in Utah were becoming too powerful, wanted money for public education increased, wanted to erect a building for the Library of Congress and finish the Washington Monument. He called attention to the desperate plight of Black people in the South, which his administration was in there partly as a betrayal of, by promising to remove federal troops from there. His last executive order was to ban the sale of alcohol at federal forts. However, he was only looking forward, and most of his concerns were not met during his administration. Lucy Hayes had a long history of enthusiastically pursuing the reforms of her time. Unlike previous First Ladies, she was an activist. She came from a Methodist and abolitionist background, and although devoutly religious, was also strongly feminist in her thinking, even stating that she believed that men and women were equals, in fact, even calling women superior in some ways. She even advocated to her husband, that violence might be necessary to gain proper social reform of the country. Unlike Mrs. Grant, Mrs. Hayes was considered frugal in the spending department. As First Lady, she suppressed her stronger tendencies to put up a good show as the model wife. Very influential in her behavior and attitude, she was praised by such noteworthy individuals as the poets Longfellow, Whittier, and Oliver Wendell Holmes. Some Americans, however, viewed her as a tight-lipped moralizer, a sanctimonious boor. Diplomats and secular black-minded individuals did not like her and her husband's devotion to their faith and mocked them both. The ban on alcohol in the White House did not help their popularity among diplomats. However, she never joined the influential Women's Christian Temperance Union that fought against alcohol in all its drinkable forms, and even served wine to Russian diplomats in the White House. Still, she is remembered by some historians as Lemonade Lucy, a tight-lipped, religious, moralizing do-gooder. However, she was a popular First Lady and marked a new era in what was considered acceptable for the wife of a president. So we're going to talk about James Garfield next. And thank you for listening. And I hope you'll study American history and come to your own conclusions. Thank you.